Hey everyone, it's Michael Zapersky, and today I'm here with Stacey Hanke. Stacey, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for doing this. And most importantly, just trusting me with your listeners.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to have you on. We're having a nice little conversation before we hit record, and we're not going to talk anymore about the weather or about cities or languages. So we're just going to dive right into what everyone actually wants to hear about, which is consulting and business growth and mindset and things that will hopefully make them more productive and successful. And you've accomplished a lot. So you're the founder of Stacey Hanke Inc. You train thousands of leaders around the world in companies like Coca-Cola, GE, General Mills, communication skills to influence and body language. I think your expertise is really about how to create better communications within managers and executives. And since you started your firm, you've built it up to, you mentioned about 6 trainers, another 10 people behind the scenes. So you got a solid team behind you. But let's kind of go back. You're from Wisconsin originally. And I'm wondering, where did this passion for communication come from?
I fell into it where the first job out of college, you always relate to your first job out of college, right? I was in radio. I wanted to be on TV and do news. That apparently didn't happen because I'm sitting with you here today. I've had a communication background, just trying to figure out what it was because I knew that communication was such the backbone to everything that we did. And there's been some curiosity in me about body language. Like, why do we behave the way that we do, or we say what we say, but we're oblivious to it?
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of large corporate stops where I did a lot of training in every topic, which was important for me to figure out, well, what really is the core? And I came to the realization, Michael, that, wow, you could be the smartest person in sales. You could be the smartest CFO in finance, whatever it is. If you cannot communicate in a way that people really understand you, doesn't matter. And to 18 years ago, which is where we're sitting today, to really design a company that can focus on increasing individuals' awareness of how much influence do they really have, rather than maybe what they believe to be true. And you're right, in the introduction, we define it as it's a combination of your body language and your messaging. It's not much your LinkedIn profile or your years of experience. It really comes down to this, because when it's just you and I, the LinkedIn profile doesn't matter.
Right.
It's what people get when they work with you.
Communication is an interesting word and area, because I think a lot of people aren't really sure what to make of it. It's like, yeah, I know I need to communicate. I communicate all the time, but what are you seeing, like, especially for that independent or small consulting firm owner, where do you see the lowest hanging fruit in terms of areas that they typically are making mistakes in, and where they could improve to see better results when it comes to like body language and communications? I just want to make it really tangible for everyone.
I think the first is the consistency of it. We define influence as body language and messaging. They need to be consistent, but all the time. And I know as a business owner myself, no matter where you are in that process, that journey, there's always so much getting thrown at you. And sometimes we forget that we still are the leader of that company. The minute you open up that door to walk in, the minute you pick up that call to talk to your employees, your reputation is always on the line. That we putting more focus in, how do our employees, how do our clients, how do they experience us? Because that truly is not just what's going to build the relationship, build your reputation, which eventually attaches to trust and influence.
So is it as simple then, Stacey, as like just saying, okay, with that in mind, every time that I call a prospective client, I need to have energy. I need to make sure that my voice sounds the same as it does when I call someone else. Is it that, or is it something beyond that? Like, I want to make this, again, very tangible and kind of tactical. Like, can you offer maybe an example of where you were doing something different before, and then you used this new approach, this better approach, and you saw a greater result, or maybe even one of your clients?
First is brevity. I call it 80-20. Let whoever you're trying to influence, let them talk 80%. And do open-ended questions, known as the open-ended, 20% of the time. That's again another mistake. And I think it's because we're sprinting through our day sometimes, or shooting off email after email. We don't take a moment, Michael, to just step back and figure out, okay, one conversation at a time. Right now, it's just Michael and I need to listen to what he's really saying. You cannot adapt the message on the fly for each person you're trying to influence. They'll miss their cue. They'll miss the guidance of, well, what do you want us to do? Right? So that's piece number one. say less with more impact. I find everyone struggles with brevity. We feel we have to share our years of experience. Think and speak in bullet points instead. Only say what really needs to be said. Now that ties to my first point. You have to be focused in the moment. Whatever that means to you. Does that mean you shut off your email? Does that mean you shut off this thing? Does that mean you have to go to a separate conference room and no one else is there? I don't know. I have to figure that out to be able to focus on one conversation at a time. Now I'm going to give you number 3 to even take number 3 probably should have been number 1, to really even figure out, how am I as a leader? Not just to my teams, but to my clients, right? Those are our 2 profit centers. To really reach out to someone this week before Friday at 5 on who could give you feedback, and ask them questions that really help direct what you want to find out. Questions that might be like open-ended. How do you perceive me? What is one thing I can do weekly to give you more impact as a leader? What is one thing that I do that is distracting or is difficult for you to pay attention and follow my lead? I would literally write out several questions, and I do this with my team. I do this with our clients, where we're asking, what is it about us why you stay? Now flip the coin. What can we do to give you more impact? Really strategic though about your question, because if you receive the feedback of how great you are, well, that does no good. But if there was just 3 things to really start with, that's where I would start today. And then every week, just be adding something new to make sure that, is my body language consistent? And that you were saying, for example, if I get on a Zoom call with my team, the last thing that I want to be doing is the behavior that I am demonstrating to you right now. And I see it all the time. Think about, how do you show up for your teams? And are you proud of it? Are you proud of the type of reputation that you've been building over the years?
So let me just kind of summarize that, because there's a lot of good stuff there. So number 1, I'm hearing you say, like, be more focused, more intentional, more in the moment, slow things down, try and communicate less, but the things that you do say or the things you do focus on should be the ones that matter most. And what else you said? Oh, that kind of like feedback with clients and with your team members. How often do you do that? Like, how, in terms of reaching out to your clients, because I think that's an incredibly powerful step. It's something that I've been encouraging many of our clients in our coaching program to do, especially now, given what's going on in the world now more than ever. It's important to be reaching out to clients and just seeing what value you can add, how you can support, how you can serve. But in your experience, kind of the best practice, how often should a consultant be reaching out to clients to ask that kind of question of, like, what else can I help you with, or how can I add more value, or how can I support you better, what could I be doing differently, so forth?
For us, it depends on how often we're working with that particular client. We're with a client and we've been delivering frequently every month workshops, training sessions for them. After 3-4 months, I'm reaching out.
Okay.
If it's a brand new client, something that we do after every workshop, every training, mentoring that we offer, we always do a follow-up call. And within a week to 2 weeks. And that conversation sounds like, to make sure that you receive the value that we promised you, feedback. What were your thoughts? Just let them talk. And that goes back to the 80-20 mentality that we use.
Right.
Do a follow-up call after everything that we deliver. Number 3, I'm working on some new projects, some new offerings that I'm going to give to clients. But before I do that, common sense, right? I'm going to get it out to my top 10.
Right.
And let them tell me, is this a good idea? Don't waste your time on it. If I reach out more frequently to those that I've built a really good bond with, because not only do they know me and my team professionally, they know us personally. They also know the value that we put on our brand. Therefore, they're going to tell me if something is not working. And it might even be a question that focuses on not just our workshops, but it might be a marketing question. What do you see on social media that you think could be jeopardizing our reputation? What would you want to see us more doing, being more active with?
And do you find that, so like, to me, this is so powerful, because I see it as a way to help essentially create longer term relationships with clients. Like you're increasing the lifetime value of your clients because you're serving them greater, you're staying in touch more. They see that you value their opinion. It's just, it wins in all categories and all dimensions. But have you also found that this helps to generate more referrals for you and more, kind of opens up new doors from clients?
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. There's something to be said about having a conversation with someone and throwing yourself out there and really communicating that without you, none of this would exist. Like my business depends on those clients. And I want them to know that. That's also part of my mentality of, I know that every interaction matters. Every interaction is reason for a follow-up. That you don't build influence off of one phone conversation, but it's a period of time.
Right.
What we do is, I'll give you another example. Part of our whole proposal process is we have a list of our top clients that we rotate in and out based on the industry they're in and who we're trying to capture as a new client relationship. I know that because I've built this relationship and trust with them, I can put those individuals in there. Our potential clients will call them, and like you said, referral.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Or the fact that you're touching base that often and checking in, they're thinking of you when one of their CEO friends at another company brought up this idea they really could use some help with mentoring their executives on influence.
Mm-hmm.
You're there because you got that many touch points with them.
Got it. What's been one of the greatest challenges that you've faced in building your business on so almost 2 decades now? What stands out to you as like, oh, that was a tough period, or that was a really tough kind of experience that you overcame?
Besides now?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we'll talk more about now in a minute, but let's kind of go pre-pandemic. What was one of the greatest challenges that you faced in growing your business?
The first was just starting it. When I started it 18 years ago, it was just me. And I didn't have, you learn from falling on your face many times. I didn't have a clear vision. That would be one mistake I would redo. Didn't have a vision. Therefore, it took me a while to get momentum.
And what do you mean by that? Like when you say a clear vision, some people feel like visions are more for larger organizations. So specifically, what do you mean when you say that like having a vision would have been more beneficial?
I knew I wanted to talk about communication, but this whole idea of influence and Monday, that has grown over the years. I wish I would have done that a lot quicker, because that then would have allowed me to really direct exactly who is my perfect client. Those two took time versus now we're in a position where we know very clearly who's the perfect client. Now that's important because if I keep promising value, but the client's not the right fit for us for many reasons, value won't be there, bad reputation, bad karma. That's a mistake, learning curve.
Yeah, learning experience. Yeah, I don't like to say mistakes or failures. It's all learning experiences. Yeah. So about that, like about an ideal client. So how do you define, just so that everyone understands, like the criteria that you use? Just walk us through what's the criteria for your ideal client.
Because of the work that we do, and we're really changing behaviors, and we need people to be open and willing to take our advice and our coaching. It's a perfect client that has, whether it's the buyer or the leader of the group, is all in. And they are going to support this process. They're going to be there before we get there, during our work, and after, because that after is the return on investment. We don't have that individual that's going to support and keep the momentum going with our work.
And how do you know? Like, how do you know whether or not they're going to do that? Do you ask directly, or is there some way that you, in your kind of application or assessment process, or?
I do. I think a lot of it from the years of doing this, it's the instinct. It's little things like, are they hard to get on a phone conversation? Nightmare. They never return messages. Nightmare. How they return my messages. Nightmare. Meaning their emails are just awful. I'm thinking, you're a leader and that's how you write? I mean, I look at all the components of how I'm interacting with them. Then we're on the call, when we can get them on the call, if they seem very occupied during the call, if it will be comments like, well, just fix this. And I can tell that when I'm talking to them about their steps that they need to take before and after our training, that they're blowing those off. Those are all signs there's not support here. Now we're very fortunate, knock on wood, it doesn't happen a lot because usually if people are coming to us, a leader's coming to us,
Yeah.
they're all in. They're not going to invest the time and dollars if they don't understand this is not a 2-day workshop. This is not a 1-hour keynote. This is teach us, and now we have to do.
Right. So let's talk about how are people coming to you? What are you doing right now, or what have you been doing up until now? Let's say pre-pandemic, and then during pandemic. Like, what are you doing to attract qualified leads and opportunities? Is it just speaking, books, direct outreach?
Yeah.
What works best?
Yeah. Besides our actual work, which is keynotes, books, mentoring, and workshops. It's that one thing I learned very early on from my coaches and the coaches I've had throughout the years is never, ever stop focusing on business development.
Yeah.
So even when business was really, really good and we'd have these massive peaks, I would use that level of confidence that I would get from that excitement to sell even more. We're big into social media, but how we do it is we're very consistent in how we position our brand. We don't do a lot of selling on it. And when we do sell, we've created, I feel we've earned it. We've given out so much free material that I feel we get to the point where now we can ask.
Right.
A lot of referral. I mean, 18 years, that better be happening.
Yeah.
So now it is a lot of referral. During this time, why I made a comment earlier, I'm back to, wow, I will not forget this time. This is rough. This is tough. Because you're dealing with not only the crisis, you're dealing now with the economy, and that's all going to happen, and training usually is the non-essential that goes away. We're really looking at our clients who are in businesses that are doing well, reaching out with them to test out our products, to test out what we're doing virtual, and really get them excited. I also believe, Michael, part of business development right now is huge for what's going to happen after. And I know we've heard this before. I'm sure you've heard this before. I keep telling my team, everything that we say, everything that we do, and everything that we push out there truly will determine our level of success after this. Michael, at this time frame, as kind of like I'm starting a business all over again, and it's going to be a long sales process for many of our clients for right now. No, if I can take care of them and really communicate, we're here to help. What can we do for you for free? Let's just do the work. Who cares about the money right now? Let's just do the work, because that will all come out on the other side. And I only know that because I've lived through several of the economy downturns.
Right. I mean, yeah, when this comes out, we might already be through what's going on, or who knows, right? There's just so much uncertainty out there in the marketplace. But I think you're right. For many people who have not gone through this time period, as entrepreneurs or consultants, a lot of people are just kind of have their head stuck in the sand. They're just, they're not sure what action to take. But what you've just outlined, and kind of what we talked about in our recent book, Act Now, which is all about, having the right mindsets and focusing not on what you can't do, like the setbacks, but rather focusing on the opportunities, and then planting the seeds right now that, even though they're not going to create, fruits of labor that will, feed and sustain you maybe tomorrow, they will maybe in the weeks, months, and years to come. And so I love that you have that mindset and that you're just continuing to push forward.
Yeah, this might also help for people to get the connection, because I keep going back to it. A couple of weeks ago, I was listening to a very successful entrepreneur doing a podcast, and he's also a triathlete and has all this success in his life. And he was talking about one back in the day when he was doing a triathlon, and he was in a lot of pain. He was injured, and all he kept saying to himself, he was on his bike, don't get off your bike. Whatever, don't get off the bike. And there truly are days, Michael, I have them too, where I'm thinking, oh man, what do I do here? I keep telling myself, don't get off the bike. I just have to get through today. I even go there, like, some days are better than others. Other days, they're like, just whatever I could do today is going to eventually provide a harvest down the road. This is a true test of how patient we all are. And the fact of who works, who actually does work right now versus who just wait. There's nothing to wait for.
Stacey, walk us through your model. I think a lot of people would be interested to kind of hear how you've structured your business, because you have yourself, right, leader of the brand and founder of the company. You have 6 people who are trainers at the moment, 10 who then support your business in one form or another. What does that look like? Just kind of take us under the hood of how did you go from the one woman band to now, a much more sizable team and people actually delivering your intellectual property to clients?
Listening to clients. With the company, Michael, I wanted to be a keynote speaker. That was it. I was about the 3rd year into it, and a lot of my audience members would ask me, teach me how to do that. Can you mentor our leader how to do that? Can you teach our sales team to do that? Well, I realized I'm one person. I had to build out a team, which was a very long and thoughtful process because I kept thinking, my name is on the door. That means who they are is really who I am. That's how we built the actual instructors, is through demand. Right. Run a very lean ship. I mean,
sorry, how did you, before you go forward, how did you find those people? Like, where did you place ads on job boards? Like, where did you find the people who could represent your brand? Because I think a lot of people struggle with that, right? A lot of people feel the same. It's like, well, that's my brand and I can do better than someone else, and maybe I should wait a little bit longer, but you went forward with it. So just walk us through how you did that.
Well, don't step on the same landmines I did. The first time I went around and did it, wrong mistake. I had a whole team that is long gone, and they just weren't the right fit. Because of what we do, and I was training a trainer how to train my material, I realized, wait a second, I don't want a trainer because they're set in their ways. I've got to look for personality, attitude, and drive. That's it. I was listening to a interview with the CEO of Zappos, company prior to Zappos. And in the interview, he got asked the same question. And he said, I hire friends. I remember listening to that podcast a day. I still remember being in my car when I listened to that. And I thought, why haven't I thought of that? Everyone on our team is either friends to friends. My 2 sisters are on the team. I got smart about bringing them on. And then one of them is their friends. So everyone somehow is connected. Here's why that works. When they're out there and your name is on it and the door is closed, you have no idea what's going on, because they got the relationship internally with the team, they hold each other accountable. They treat the company like they own it.
Some people might have concerns about that part, like, family members, and isn't that a weird dynamic, and what if things don't work out? Any advice or experiences around that?
Well, when we first decided to do this, my sister's girls said, what if Auntie Stacey fires you? And I said to them, well, it will be very awkward during the holidays. Right. One thing that we decided to do is we're a very tight family. We decided we need business and we need personal. We really decided what qualifies that. We composed a contract agreement. And that was awkward, right? A contract with your sisters. We have a very great, strong relationship because we had that conversation long before that. When we're talking work, it's work. And we, the family, we're not sisters. This is work. And then on the flip side, when we're together as a family, work is not allowed. Unless we 3 agree to talk about work, we don't talk about it. The positive side to having your family, depending on the relationship that you have, is I know that they've got my back. No matter what happens, they're going to take the lead. That's key.
Yeah. So, okay. So you're giving keynote talks and presentations and speaking. The audience and people are saying, hey, we want you to help us. You know that you can't do it all yourself. So you go out and you find people, you make some bad hires, then you start kind of pulling from within family and all that, and family friends, and then you get the right people in. And so now what does that look like? I mean, just even if it's pre-pandemic, because I don't want this moment in time to necessarily, I want to still kind of get more into what you were even doing before. So you kind of develop what your core trainings and materials, and that's what then your 6 trainers go out and teach. You put them into organizations. Is that kind of how it works? That's the model.
I did the workshops a long time by myself, because when I got to say this eloquently, when the first team, I decided not the right fit, I was stuck, and I thought I did by myself until I figure out what in the world, who I'm going to bring in. That probably was a smart move, in that I really got a chance to test out the material and create the material and create a certification process to train the next group that was going to come in. When we hire someone, we only hire one person at a time. We're very lean because I want to keep them out there. I want to keep them active with our clients, because the more that they do our training, the better they're going to be, right? That relationship. Therefore, Michael, our certification process is 8 months. Okay. It is a very long process. However, it's the investment. I know that if they get through those 8 months, they're staying. They're going to really invest in this, in the company, the clients, and with me. That's that side of the business. And we have a total of 10 people. So the other individuals are the ones that really manage all the information that goes into a workshop, is really my assistant and our director of operations assistant. And then we have a social media team. I realized very early on, Michael, that I could really create momentum there and test out material and build clientele, but I couldn't do that by myself. A big part of our marketing right now is a lot goes through our social media team and those that help us with the marketing piece.
And is that done all in-house, or do you have a team offshore or in the US, or what does that all look like? Are people geographically, where are they kind of situated?
Yeah, they're everywhere. I mean, this is proof during this time that we never had an office because we never were at the office. Go figure, be at the client site. Our instructors are located throughout the States. So is our social media team is in Denver. Our our marketing team is here in Chicago. So everyone is located at a different location. For us, it just made sense. We didn't want the overhead of office space. Right. Because of our work, we were able to do everything remotely.
And for people who are thinking, that's a great model. I could see taking my IP and my materials and, training other people and then using that to scale. What should they know about pricing strategy? When you go into an organization, the organization is paying, a fee for that training or series of workshops. How do you typically kind of structure that between what the company's making and what you're paying to trainers? Like, are they on a flat salary, or their incentives? They get paid per, workshop that they give. What do you kind of do in that area?
Yeah, that was a lot of trial and error. Now, this is just a personal opinion. I think it depends on the size of the groups that you have taking your work. Our workshops, some of them are very small groups. So we have a flat rate that we charge the client. We don't charge per participant. We don't charge per hour.
Right.
Realize clients watch the clock.
Sure.
Charge on value. We are constantly saying it's this for the value that you get. And that's how we decided all of the offerings that we have. It's strictly off of value. I don't time into it where they say, what about 2 hours versus 3 hours? No, this is the rate for that. Doesn't matter. Then the instructors get paid for the work that they do. So they're getting paid for the actual days that they deliver.
Got it.
That was a lot of research. I talked to a lot of my competitors and realized, all right, if I want the best of the best, I have to go higher than what the average rate is. Which is
so you mean you pay your trainers, your team members, you pay them more than maybe what they would receive in other places.
Yes.
But you're able to do that, I'm guessing, because you're capturing greater value in your fees. And so there's more margin. So it's still very profitable for your company and your team is happy.
Yes, exactly. And I think too, Michael, why that works now for us, we've got 18 years of experience. I think we're really priced right for the value, for the industries, and with our competition. And that was a learning curve too. As a keynote speakers, you need to decide what you want to start at, and then you grow that. You don't start here as a keynote speaker. That's how our industry works. And training is a little bit like that too, because you've got to have backing to your clientele list, your years of experience, because there's so much competition in my field. Yeah. Everyone is saying, especially now, everyone's saying that they're trainers. They can do everything virtually. I'm like, you kind of got to have proof of the longevity that you've had and the experience you've had with it.
Yeah, it's like consulting. Everyone these days, says, "Oh yeah, we're consultants." And what are you really doing? And it's interesting. I think both you and I, being in this industry for a similar amount of time, you see different things. You see the kind of the fads come and go, and you see people who really are sticking it out and being successful long term. So, listen, Stacey, to me, it's very clear that you and I could just continue talking for quite some time here. But I want to respect your time and thank you so much for coming on. But I do want to make sure that people can learn more about your book. You have your book Influence Redefined behind you there for those who are watching. But where's the best place for people to go to learn more about you, your work, your company, your book, everything else that you kind of have out there?
Yeah, thank you, Michael, for doing that. Go to our website. That's a good place to start because on the website, you'll have all the social media links as well. It's Stacey with an EY, HANKEINC.com.
There we go. We're going to have that all linked up in the show notes. Stacey, thank you again so much for coming on here today.
You're welcome. Such a pleasure to get a chance to talk with you. Thank you.